webcasting to the world.
Do you remember the moment you saw yourself in God and God in you, and you were one with the universe and God and everybody?
Knowing the truth about the gospel.
You were one with the prostitutes and pimps and priests and kings, and there was nobody on earth that was better than you nor less than you.
That we are all righteous.
And no one on earth was any less in Christ than anyone else.
That's Mike Williams, and this is the Gospel Revolution.
Hello, this is Daniel Rouse. Would you welcome with me again the founder and president of the Gospel Revolution, Michael Lilbourne Williams.
Thank you, Daniel Thomas Rouse, for that rousing welcome.
Well, hello, Michael. How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day here. My daughter and my grandson are visiting, and some of you are just very disappointed that my daughter is not joining us since she's here. She ought to be, right? Well, it's been a rough week for her and our family in Illinois, so I had them come down just to take a break. Couple of really crazy mishaps, nothing that turned out to be nothing, and but all happening just all at one time. I think that she needed to just have some time to come down. Her and Corbin both, they were both kind of involved in all this stuff that had just suddenly just turned upside down. And it was with Corbin's health. But as it's turned out, we told you about one of them here several months ago. And then the little fella, yeah, and I'm laughing about this now, but I mean, you should have seen how they handled this. It was incredible. So he ends up with Bell's palsy. So his mom's sitting there talking to him and saying, "Corbin, quit acting like that. Why are you twisting your face up like that?" And he's just smiling at her like, yeah, I don't, like he was trying to do something. And she even sent me a photo of it. But they told me, that it was him acting goofy. And I went back and looked at that photo again, and it's like, oh, wait a minute. There's something wrong here. And he had an onset of Bell's palsy. I had it when I was 40. Then I had an uncle that had it. I told him, welcome to being part Williams. And it can be hereditary, but it had an earache the night before. And many times it's brought on by something like that. Bell's palsy, unless you have it very late in life, always clears up, but it's a paralysis of one entire side of your face. So here's an 11-year-old wearing a patch to school, This is something that you would think people would be serious about. It's not that they didn't take it seriously, but they had more jokes between them, and my grandson just thought they were funny as they could be. And talking about, how much the girls like guys with patches on their eyes. And I mean, it was crazy. Then, of course, the other thing that's going on, he's going to have several treatments for that are benign in the long run. There's no long-term effects, but has to be treated. And he'll be walking with his right leg a little stiff for a while. Was telling him that, a guy with one stiff leg wearing a patch, that's like the prime for being a catch in 1776, but and he's just laughing and he just thinks it's all so funny. He made a comment last night as we were getting ready. It's already gotten, just after 3 days, the palsy is going away. At his age, of course, that shows the difference in when this can happen. It can happen to, well, we know an 11-year-old. I think they're mostly talk about it being from 15 to like 60. And once you get past 60, you're really not that susceptible to it. If you get it past 60, it's probably going to stay, right? So his is clearing up very quickly. I don't remember what the conversation was about, but it's about him being 11 years old, and he's he had his appendix removed a year and a half, a little over a year and a half ago, and it's been crazy, but none of them life threatening or long term effects at all. Mm-hmm. And so his mom says, "Well, you're just getting it all out of the way here, before you're 12 years old, and then it'll all be done." So anyway, he just thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. He was getting on FaceTime with his friends, and I was trying to think what I would have done at 11 years old with palsy in the right side of my face hanging down. I wouldn't have been getting off a camera and laughing about it, So anyway, I've got a weird family, but this is a weird thing in a good way, because if my family was standing around making fun of my grandson and he was sitting there crying, that'd be one thing, but he's the one that is cracking all the jokes about it. I think the gospel's just got a hold of all of us. We just can't seem to find anything but a bright spot in everything that happens. So anyway, yes, good morning, good afternoon, and here we are for this PowerCast. We're still having some good results from our show that we just did, our conference that we wrapped up in Canada. It's been almost 2 weeks now, hasn't it?
Yeah, at the time of this recording, it's been out about 2 weeks, and we're still getting some wonderful feedback. We're seeing the viewership even go up on it. Actually, Michael, you and I were talking the other day that we're still seeing viewership go up from the 1,000-year reign of Christ teaching.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, which we knew it would. I mean, that the thing about YouTube is, I don't. This is a recent stat, I guess. It may have changed since the day of AI becoming popular, but YouTube was like the top search engine when people start searching topics. And so we kept that in mind as we worded our titles, and still do, trying to figure out what people are searching for. And so the 1,000-year reign of Christ, in the Christian world is it's a hot topic. And it's amazing to see that people are still interested, still watching, still going at it.
Yeah, they definitely are. And in fact, I just clicked on yesterday and I realized, my goodness, we had several more viewers just this week on the first session of the 1,000-year reign. So I guess, part of that's people coming back around to see what we're doing on this one and realizing, oh, there's another one there. And this one's catching their attention and they're going back. So, we're still just trying to generate some waves and see what happens and see if there's a reasonable way to get the gospel into people's ears. We were talking just before, and we were talking about truth and what that actually means. I mean, it's a term that everybody, no matter what they think it's the truth, right? I don't care what it is. Everybody thinks it's the truth. All 45,000 denominations of Christianity, it's all truth, and every religion around the world, it's all truth, and every political persuasion is all truth. And it's like, where do you cut through this? Well, the only real truth that I know of was identified as a person. And so in this aspect, we get to identify truth not just by knowledge, but by a person. Now, the knowledge of that person is truth. And so we have that wonderful anchor, is that we don't use Jesus as or the Christ as a place to come from and then develop doctrines about baptism and then sin and then everything else. We let the person of Christ and what he did is the foundation, and then what we learn from who he is determine what knowledge that we gain from that. Well, and then of course we went from my truth to your truth to everybody's got their own truth, and I understand that statement. It's true to you. So but that doesn't make something truth because it is you. There was a lot said about this, and the final word that we have in history about it is Christ. And he made this incredible statement: I am truth, I am the way, I am life. So it helps to narrow down the scope. That's what we're doing here in the Gospel Revolution. Folks, that's the reason we're willing to consider anything and to field any questions about what we say, because we know where we are anchored. We're anchored in Christ. Daniel, you remember, like I do, I know you do, that my entire concept of Christ was a baby born in a manger, lived and died and rose from the dead.
Mm-hmm.
Even entertaining that we are now his body was a big thing. It's like, how do you even conceive that Christ still exists? But it was all of the teaching of him and us and him. And that was quite a stretch for us, because we had even though it was conceptually there, my view of Christ was he appeared on the scene at his conception. And then, of course, we began to hear from Christ and from Paul about Christ being there before the foundation of the world. Then we found out about a 1,000-year reign of Christ that Paul says ended at the resurrection of Christ. And then we found out about 1,000 years, and then we found it recorded. It's like, my gosh, this is what this recorded history is about. So the way, the truth, and the life, we don't have to look for our pursuit of truth is the pursuit of a person now. It all culminated in the person of Yeshua Christ.
And it's interesting when you look at the life of Christ and you can see how people respond to truth. Michael, they crucified truth.
Yeah, exactly.
They attempted to bury truth.
Yeah.
And that was the other part of our conversation, is about how belief systems in play, people would rather believe than know the truth. And that certainly is a perplexing thought, that someone would rather play in the make-believe world as opposed to living in truth. Yeah, I'd just speak from my own experience in that, Michael. I think the road of truth is a lonely road.
Yeah, it is.
It's not a popular road, but the truth or the path of belief is certainly crowded. People live in that world, and there's communities built around belief systems. But when you start speaking truth, all of a sudden you find yourself kind of in a lonely corner. And I think one of the attractive things about a belief system is the fact of the community that it builds.
It is indeed. And the reason it builds a community is because belief systems are built around what you need truth to do for you. So, that can develop a whole community around people who are ill or need health, or a community around people who need prosperity, a whole community around people who have gone through divorce, a whole community of people who are youth, a whole community of people, because truth is supposed to be something that that benefits you and your situation. But the thing that we've come to know about truth in the Gospel Revolution is everybody claims to seek truth. I've never heard anybody that says, whatever they believe, they think that it has come as a result of them earnestly seeking after truth. So decades ago, I was confronted with that. And it's like, so how do I know? I don't have any special inside thing going on here. And continue to learn that nobody has a special insight on the truth. But I began to realize that truth if you're going to ever know truth, it must be sought for its intrinsic value, not for the value of what it will do for you.
Mm.
And if you start looking for a truth that will do something for you, you're going to find something, but it most likely is not going to be truth. But you will, as you said, Daniel, you will find a community.
Yeah.
And that's the affirming and almost damning thing about that, is that the community makes the belief feel like truth.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have community now. And as you've stated, and I know that all of our GRs go through this, it's that there seems to be a loss of community.
Mm-hmm.
And we know each other, and we communicate freely, and but still there's and we've had a lot of people move on from the Gospel Revolution into other things that have some form of community to it, but it's not the gospel. It's kind of close. I'm sorry, folks, you can't be kind of close to truth. You're either there or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And so mysticism, that's kind of close. And thanks for playing. It's not kind of close at all, because you have to deny the person of Christ and what he did to be a mystic.
Mm-hmm.
You absolutely have to deny the person of Christ to be a mystic. They say, no, we don't. Jesus is everything. So the scriptures say that he shed his blood for the remission of sin. Well, yes, he did. And only him. Well, no, it could have been anybody. It's like, okay, so no cigar. I don't know why they pass out cigars when you get something right. But neither do I understand why they send out cigars when you have a baby. But anyway, but it's like passing out a cigar when a baby's born, or no cigar. Those are constructs that people have built that they develop community around.
Mm.
And I know that sounds a little silly and trite, but just think of the things that we do build community around. And it's not that there's anything wrong with those constructs and traditions. I love traditions. The one things that GRs can continue to do is hold on to like family traditions. Mm-hmm. But when the traditions are there because they're required because of what you believe, then you're kind of going in a direction that's not healthy. I don't care whether it's pray at a certain hour of the day, or meditation, or you can or cannot. And sometimes it's the cannot do the celebrations. Like we have several Christian denominations that absolutely forbid the celebration of Christmas and even birthdays. You can't even celebrate your birthday.
Mm.
So you can build it around anything, but what we are, what we've made our pledge and our allegiance to is the man, the Christ, the person, Christ. And in that, now you say, well, what happened? There wasn't always the man, the Christ, that was born of a virgin and lived and died and rose from the dead. Well, that's why we're doing their subject that we're doing, is on the subject of the shadows, because there were shadows of that truth all along, and to make sure that when the truth showed up, the fullness of the light, when the light arrived, not a shadow, but when the light arrived, we would recognize, oh yeah, we've seen those shadows.
And with much help again from our community, Robert May wrote into us, Michael, and shed some light on the shadows for us, if you will.
Oh, you can say that again, right?
Yeah. Robert wrote in and he said, "You said that time had to bring the shadow into its most definable position. Speaking of the third session of the Grace Conference, which, by the way, if you haven't listened to it yet, go to youtube.com, search up Gospel Revolution and the number 1. You'll see our little black and white GR logo. Hit that, and you'll have access to all of the 5 sessions of the conference for the fall. And this is what Robert May is in reference to. That brought something to mind. If you put a stake in the ground and wait until the shadow of the stake is equal to the height of the stake, you can determine the height of anything, a building, a tree, etc., by measuring that thing's shadow. This is how they originally determined the height of the Great Pyramid. That would be the thing most definable. That would be the thing's most definable position, and it does depend on time.
Well, that is a beautiful illustration, as Robert May can always drop in on any situation and just help. Ta-da! The moment. I bet Robert's never been told ta-da! It's the moment. But that is what Robert does to just about any conversation or anything. I mean, he certainly did that where the ministry of Paul was concerned. I mean, something I was completely closed to. And I was able to see and have been enjoying Robert's way of thinking. And because his insights are rooted in the person of Christ. And so, man, you can learn so much from him. I know that he has a book out.
Yeah, Michael, the name of the book is Brother from the Same Mother by Robert May. And you can get your copy on Amazon for as little as $5.58.
Well, and there it is. I mean, don't pass that up. This is a wonderful book, and goes into a lot of what we did during the 1,000-year reign, and the sons of Jacob. So this goes into a beautiful detail that just needs to be understood. And instead of us teaching it to you, let's go to the source and the man who gave us the information in the first place. Order the book. It's worth it. Get a few of them. Pass them out. Goodness.
So, Michael, what do you know about this measuring of the pyramid? This is kind of a new story to me. How did they use the sun and the shadow and all of that to determine the height of pyramid, or in his example, even a stake?
Anything. So it was in 600 BC. I don't have the name of the guy here in front of me. I should have. But he determined that at a certain time of the day, that the shadow of a object is the length of the shadow is exactly the same as the height of the object. And that's where this whole new science was born, 600 BC. So we understand why that things began to be understood and taught as shadows, because 600 BC was when when people, at least in their culture, probably was established long before that, but at least people in the Egyptian culture began to realize that shadows are very defining. Now, not only does the shadow at the right time, so the thing we're going to be focusing on is at the right time. The shadow does not have a full revelation of the object until the time is there. Or let me say, until the fullness of time is there. You like how I did that?
I'd like that was very crafty. So we can have this in here. That was Thales of Miletus. the ancient Greece philosopher and
yeah.
mathematician around 600 BC.
So he was a mathematician. And and see, folks, that's the thing. We've got, evolution has got us thinking that people didn't learn to count until 2,000 years ago or 1,500 years ago. You've got to realize that there was brilliance of mathematics and algebra and all kinds of structured science and astronomy. That we have astronomy going back almost 5,000 years. And when you look at the maps, they map this stuff out. Folks, when you have nothing to do but look at the stars, 5,000 years ago, what else did you have to do at nighttime? You look at the stars. And you say, well, who would ever, when you can go out to the bars and clubs, who's go out and measure stars? So, all right. So that was like a major thing. That would be like a night out at all the bars and the clubs in all of New York. This was something that people did, and they began to map the skies and measure them. And that over hundreds of years, they did this. And one thing that you need to know is that everything that is recorded in the sky in astronomy almost 5,000 years ago of record, about 4,500 years ago, we have reason for documenting that. But we do have documents back then to Babylon and others who began to map the stars. But there's not one single object on those maps, star maps of astronomy. There's not one of them missing today. Mm-hmm. And we've been told about, light traveling and stars disappearing, and that these stars have been gone for millions of years, and that there's really no way of telling whether there's a star there or not. Because most likely its light left there millions of years ago. And if you've ever doubted whether or not that even sounds like sense or nonsense, please go to our lilbornequation.com. We talk about these things on there. We're probably going to talk about a couple of these things because it's just absolutely warranted when you're talking about shadows and the position of the sun. These things are vitally important because, you see, with a lot of theoretical physics, what they're doing is wiping out the shadows that led to the understanding of who Christ is. So if you think it's not important, when somebody is systematically erasing the things that cause you to be able to measure and look and see, and they are literally erasing the measurements so that nobody will ever consider that this man called Christ was actually anything real whatsoever. So these are important matters. They really are very important. But not only that, but they also begin to learn that the angle of the light on the mass. So the angle had to be right for the truth about what was happening to be determined by the shadow. So that's what prophecy is all about. That's what all of the Psalms is about. It's making sure that you understand that when you look at not just any shadow, but when you look at a shadow at a certain angle at a certain time, this is what you're going to learn. And that's why, somebody wrote in and told us, that, well, the time itself is unimportant. Oh, the time itself is vitally important. And Daniel, I remember us going through not knowing really what we would find, but we did an entire show on the precision of the amount of time when God said something was going to happen. I think we started with years of captivity in Egypt. Told them exactly how long they'd be there and when they'd leave. God told them 120 years before the flood. God said, man's years shall be 120. Now, we are now witnessing somebody taking this shadow out so profoundly. And of course, it's our friend Kenneth Copeland, took this so profoundly out of its context and took it as a promise for his personal life.
Mm-hmm.
Man's years shall be 120. That was a prophecy of judgment, just like the prophecy that came along before they went into bondage into Egypt. He told them, in many cases, is 100 to 200 years before the event as to what was going to happen. In this case, about the flood, he told them that you got 120 years left. And I remember being in the Word of Faith movement. And I remember when Kenneth got that, is that somebody saw that and it's like, oh my God, we've been going around here claiming this much and that much life and just long life in general. But with the Word of God, you got to be specific. And so we got specific and we pulled 120 years out of that verse. And everybody started claiming 120 years. And then Kenneth Copeland decided that that's God's perfect covenant with him. And we've drawn the line in the sand as he has. He drew the line in the sand first. We didn't. He drew the line in the sand and said, not us. He said that his position is that God and he made a covenant. If you listen to him, he talks to God continually. And the Lord tells him when to turn the page in the Bible, when not to turn the page in the Bible, when to go to the next verse, and he'll start to go, oh, okay, Lord. Oh, you want me to go over there? Oh, okay, God. Yeah. Okay. So, he talks to God continually. And so we have decided to also draw a line in the sand too, that if Kenneth Copeland dies before he is 120 years old on his birthday, that everything he had to say is therefore, this is just a truth. When you set the stake and you build the pyramid and you say this is what it means, people have a right to hold you to your word.
Mm.
And we're holding him to his word, not in a vicious way. God, I don't want to see the man suffer. But he's already suffering. He's not even reached 90 yet. And they just had the West Coast Believers Convention, wasn't it, I think. And he can't get down the stairs by himself anymore. And I don't say that gloating. I mean, that's sad. And rambling, oh my gosh. I mean, Kenneth is not the man that he was just 2 years ago. His rate of decline is drastic. And of course, in the movement, I would be rebuked for those negative words, which would be that when he does die before 120, it'll be my fault.
Mm.
That's how things get turned upside down, folks.
But it's a personal covenant. What do you have to do with it?
Exactly. So how can my words interrupt his personal covenant? Obviously, I mean, Job had his naysayers, and they tried to redefine everything. I mean, this has happened all the time. Another man's words cannot cause God's promise to be or not to be. And because he could swear by no greater, he swore by himself.
Mm.
Maybe God got tired of man messing up his covenants and just decided, okay, I'm going to leave you guys out. If I'm going to save you, I've got to do it between me and me.
Yeah, Michael, as we went through the 1,000-year reign of Christ, one of the, we spent a lot of time on that, is we discovered that prophecy was all bound by time.
Yes.
There was a specific period of time in which prophecy was prevalent.
Yeah.
Now, of course, since Genesis, you see prophecy. But the prophets, the ministry of the prophets, we found it was constrained within the 1,000-year reign of Christ. And how did we know that culminated? It culminated because Jesus said, the law and the prophets. I did not come to destroy it, but I've came to fulfill the law and the prophets.
Yeah.
And, that was one of the things I learned in the Gospel Revolution. I used to preach that Jesus fulfilled the law, but not the prophets.
Yeah.
Prophecy was still unfolding. I was still prophesying over people. I was still prophesying over events and different things like that. I was still looking for prophecy from the Bible to come true. But we discovered that at the end of the 1,000-year reign of Christ, that Christ not only fulfilled law, but he also fulfilled prophecy. And what does that mean? That means that as we add into the dynamic of what we look at in light and shadow, and we add in this important element, element's the wrong word, but this important dimension, whatever, of time. When we see that time is so important, because, Michael, if you looked at that shadow on the pyramid at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's going to be a different height than 8 o'clock at night or at noon. You're going to have to see that. So in order for that to work correctly, in order to get the correct measurement, we had to be at the right time. And what I did in Christianity is I was looking at prophecy in the wrong time.
Yeah.
I was looking at prophecy in the future. The 1,000-year reign of Christ is yet to come. The return of Christ is yet to come. The fulfillment of that there shall be, he shall wipe away all tears off of all faces. That's going to be a future event. That the New Jerusalem will come to the earth. That was a future event. That we would all be the bride of Christ. That was a future event.
Mm-hmm.
And that was looking at the shadow outside of the right time.
Well, and then once this becomes an additive, an element, a perspective, as you were struggling for the word, we all struggle for these words because nobody ever told us about this stuff, right? Another verse that comes to mind is the path of the righteous is like the light of dawn. It gets brighter and brighter until the full day. Now, what does that say? Look at that geometrically, okay? It's like, Michael, you can take the fun out of anything. You can read a good verse and say, let's study geometry now.
Geometry.
What happens to measuring the height of a pyramid at noonday, at when the sun is straight above the pyramid? It has no shadow. You see, the fulfillment of prophecy is the elimination of all shadows.
Oh, come on. You could say that again.
The fulfillment of prophecy is the elimination of all shadows. And that is what happened. That's what Christ was. He was the fulfillment. This point of the fullness of light. Rise, shine, for the light has come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. What does that mean? There's no more shadows. We have so many ways to articulate this, and yet Christianity has started measuring from that point, and the sun going down, and they're seeing shadows again. But you know what? The shadows they're seeing are prophesying an end. The wrong end, because they're measuring the wrong direction on the shadow. They were supposed to declare, oh my God, look, full day has come. There is no shadow. And instead, they let the sun slip by, and they started seeing the shadows on the other side, and they started making up doctrines, and they've come up with 46,000 definitions of the shadow that are on the other side. See, all of the shadows we acknowledge are before the cross. All the shadows they're talking about are after the cross. Why are there shadows after the cross? Because they don't believe that the sun and the fullness of the day fulfilled all the shadows, all the laws, even as you and I didn't when we were teaching Word of Faith.
I just looked up that verse you were talking about, and that's Proverbs 4:18. But the path of the righteous is like the shining sun that shines ever brighter unto the perfect day. And I just had to look up that word perfect just to see what it meant. And it's the Hebrew word kun, and it means to be erect, to stand perpendicular.
Wow.
And Michael, the way that it has been defined and translated is prepare, establish, ready, establish, provide, the fixed, direct, order, fashioned, confirmed, preparation, and a few more. But the perfect day is the day everything was prepared for. It was the day that everything was established. It was the day everything was ready. It was the day that everything was provided for. It was the direct day, a specific point in history. And then, of course, to be erect, to stand perpendicular, Christ was erected up on that cross, standing perpendicular over everything. That was the full day.
Yeah, and the power of that. See, and if you just read it until the perfect day, it's like the day. Which day is going to be the perfect day? No, it's talking about the point of time in the day. That is the perfection. It's not this day over that day over another day. It is being measured by the angle geometry, the angle of the sun above the object. It's direct, and therefore all shadows have disappeared. But because we don't understand these things, I mean, people can hook and jive us any which way they want to jerk a chain and say, look at this, look at this. But there's nothing to look at. We've already seen the fulfillment of this verse and all the ones that we've mentioned, and we'll be mentioning some more here.
Yeah, you mentioned Paul. Paul made a statement in Galatians chapter 4:4. But when the fullness of time had come, God sent forth his son, born of a woman, born under the law, to redeem those who were under the law, that we might receive the adoption as sons.
Where did you find that?
That was Galatians 4 and verse 4. And as I'm reading here, Michael, I think I need to back up. I'm going to start in verse 1. Now I say that the heir, as long as he is a child, does not differ at all from a slave, though he is a master of all, but is under guardians and stewardship until the time appointed by the Father. This is so good.
Yeah.
Even so we, when we were children, were in bondage under the elements of the world. You might say the shadows.
Yeah.
But when the fullness of time had come, God sent forth his son, born of a woman, born under the law. Michael, I remember just recalling some of the sessions that we did in the 1,000-year reign of Christ and time and prophecy and all that. Is time ended. Time ceased at the end of the 1,000-year reign of Christ. Because there was only one time appointed. All of the time and all of the time prophecies led up to the fullness of time. And it wasn't until that point in history, that point in time, if you will, that everything culminated, that everything was established, everything was prepared, and that was fulfilled in the person of Yeshua Christ.
And what a powerful point is that Christ came into perfect alignment under the law, just like we were. So he placed himself in the very same position. Let's talk about geometry again. And he placed himself in the very same position because that time was coming. And then this full alignment of the geometry took place. You see, we're too used to looking at measurement of a day from the sun going up to the sun going down. But in prophecy, in so many ways, this is from the advent of the prophecy until the fulfillment of the prophecy. and the fulfillment of the prophecy is at full day. It's at noonday. It's at that hour. I mean, the crucifixion of Christ. I can't even remember now when the crucifixion took place.
Yeah, Michael, in Matthew 27:45, now, of course, this is as Jesus is on the cross. They've already divided the garments. They already put the sign up, Jesus, this is Yeshua, the King of the Jews. And then in verse 45, it says, now from the 6th hour, which would be noon, until the 9th hour, which would be 3 p.m., there was darkness all over the land.
Yeah.
And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. This is my God, why have you forsaken me?
Well, obviously, the very middle of the crucifixion, beginning at 9 a.m., ending at his death at 3 p.m., it's strange. There's something here because usually at 12 noon is when all the shadows disappear, and instead darkness covered the face of the earth.
Wow.
So, Robert, what does that mean? And any of our other GRs, but that's how you learn, is you go through things until it presents a contradiction. Contradictions to what you're studying can either mean you need to reestablish where you started, or this means something. It's wanting to emphasize something by this contradiction that pops up in the middle. So obviously, this the fact that darkness instead of, but see, here's the thing: all shadows disappeared.
Yeah.
Whether it was darkness or light that brought it on, the fact of it is that the shadows all disappeared from that point until the death of Christ. There's more there. We'd love to tell you that we've studied all this out, but hey, we hope that it's kind of piqued your imagination a little bit there. It certainly has mine.
So what I'm gathering here up to this point, Michael, is we see a timeline. We see the 1,000-year reign of Christ. We see a timeline of prophecy. We see Nebuchadnezzar's dream. We see the 70 weeks of Daniel. We see the Babylonian captivity. And all of these prophecies lead up to a point in history. And that at that point, the fullness of time is when the Son was born. So all of those are shadows. All of those are foretellings. All of those are things pronouncing what is to come. And as we put these into proper time, which, oh my gosh, Michael, now the 1,000-year reign of Christ has done that so well for us.
Yeah.
And that's become clear to me. I mean, the shadows are gone for me now. In seeing that as a Christian, I was looking at the shadows in the wrong timeline.
Wow.
I would think even our mystic friends, again, they're looking at the shadows in the wrong timeline. See, they're looking from the fulfilled position of the work of the cross. They see that, however they word it, the culmination is we are all holy, perfect, righteous, and sinless. But the timeline's wrong. They take that to before the foundations of the world, which, as we studied out in the conference, that's where the plan was created.
Yeah.
And then a timeline was established for all of these things to come. But it wasn't until the fullness of time that all of that was established upon the earth.
Right.
And the plan became a man. The words became a person. Prophecies were fulfilled. The law was fulfilled in the person of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So all of this was here. And at this intersection of shadow and time, we understand that the shadows actually revealed what they were all about. And that was at that moment in history when Jesus hung on the cross.
And that is where truth can be anchored. How do you know we know the truth more than somebody else knows the truth? Well, first off, let us make this clearly. Everyone has the truth. Because the truth is Christ. So the first thing we have to declare about truth is everyone has it. Because it is a him. It is a he. And fulfilled, whether you think so or not, whether your mind's got in the right position or not, you possess what was to be possessed at the fullness of time. You have it. Now, whether or not you understand it. But see where our mystic friends, again, get this wrong. They don't think that the fullness of time had anything to do with anything. They think the fullness of time was the creation of Adam, and that Adam lost a mindset. That is goodness gracious, folks. That's like driving the stake after the sun went down. You lose all compass. You lose all geometry. You lose all astronomy. You lose everything by not allowing. You say, well, we're not in it for astronomy. Oh, yes, you are. You don't know it. But all of the scriptures declare that geometry, especially geometry, is the guiding post of everything about prophecy and the fulfillment of time and the fulfillment of the work of the cross and the end of sin and the bringing about of righteousness for the entire planet. So all of these things are so powerful and so real. And we don't have anything against any of these people, but folks, there's just something really perverse that's happened when you can't speak up about what your opinion is about what somebody else is teaching. Something's gone wrong when the protocol is to remain silent. That somebody teaches something. How do you honor truth? Oh, just say what you got to say and forget what everybody else has to say. Well, that's not how it's done. And again, as we've pointed out many times, Paul said is absolutely a shame that you cannot speak up and determine whether a teaching that you just heard is based in law or grace. And that's what he said in Corinthians. The power of understanding the shadows and what they represented. I mean, now every time I look around the room, I see shadows and angles and how misrepresenting shadows can be. That's another thing. If the shadows are not lined up with light at the full day, shadows have a time in which they bring understanding and absolute truth, just like the height of the pyramid, even the shape of the pyramid. Do you know if that light gets off the right geometric pattern, that you will never ever think that a pyramid is shaped like a pyramid at all? You're just not going to. You're not going to see that. I don't know how that all works geometrically, but I know that with every object, shadows can distort what you think you're seeing if you look at the shadows.
Yeah, just yesterday, as you were on the phone with me, you had a plane flying through your room.
Yeah,
from the shadows.
Exactly. The light was coming through my top small windows, like a lot of windows or doors. Front doors are designed with 2 or 3 small windows. I have 2 small windows at the top that only I can see out of, and I like that because I can look down on top of people's heads and they don't even know I'm looking at them. So it was later in the evening when Daniel and I were speaking, and whatever the time of the day was, the light was coming through those windows and down the hallway and striking at the corner between the ceiling and the wall. And it looked like a paper airplane with a big long tail. The dimensions that can be revealed with light and shadows is profound. And to mistake them, man, I'm telling you what, you can have a belief that lasts for thousands of years, hundreds of years. You can have things determined because of what somebody saw in a shadow, but you've got to know at what angle that was. You've got to know, are we really getting the dimension until we look at the thing or the person? You can see a person's shadow all day long, but you don't know who the person is by their shadow. There's many things about the way people dress and things. If somebody saw a shadow of my head, they would definitely know it's not a girl standing there with her hair flowing. That's for sure. But there's things about the very image that you're not going to know until you encounter the image. And then, regardless of what the shadows have done to help you understand, the shadows now are unimportant. But it doesn't make them unimportant from the time that they were used to the point that the shadows disappear.
You know, Michael, maybe one of the most historical events of this that we still see affecting all of humanity to this day is Romer's view of shadows and light in his study. And I think he was wrong about that, wasn't he?
That person that Daniel is mentioning is O-L-E, Christian Romer, R-O-M-E-R. And his research actually took place in about 1671 to 1672. And but he was hired. He was a hired man. The true physicist, the true astronomer was Cassini, C-I-S-S-I-N-I. And Cassini, and I'm doing that so that you can look these things up. So Cassini was the man who hired Romer to watch for 6 months over these 2-year periods of time, and see what was happening with light from Io, one of 4 moons around Jupiter. All 4 of them were discovered by Galileo. And a lot of history, a lot of stuff to be said there, but I'll leave my interest out and we'll stick to the story. Romer brought his, who was he was from Norway, I believe. The man who hired him was from Paris. So he turns in his, it's not like he dropped them in an email. So the experiments that he did took place, I think, in 71, 72. By the time that they got to his boss and they got looked over, it was 1676. And this man had status and place in Paris Royal Society, which included astronomy and the study. Of course, this had dropped from Galileo, and people were very fascinated by these things, also being controlled by religion at the time. And you had to be careful what you said. Cassini gets up and declares before the Royal Society in Paris, light travels at a speed. And we know this now because of this 22-minute delay measured over 6 months period of time. So, yay. And the news all went out from Paris to the whole known world. And that light travels at a speed. So then over a short period of time, Cassini, being the astronomer himself, the one that hired the work done, starts looking at the other moons. Oh, wow. If Io, that is spelled I-O, if Io is doing this, we can confirm this by the other 3 moons, because we've got the same planet, same environment, same dealing with same shadow, everything's same. So he started doing research on the other three moons. And boy, he said, stop the presses. We've got this wrong. These other three moons do not act like Io. They are not giving us a reading of the travel of time. Now, this is the very first time light was ever determined to travel. And it's never been recanted. It's even though I've got the entire geometric designs and everything that explains exactly what happened here. This was just an observational error. And they didn't know what the Earth was actually doing in 1676. They didn't know what was actually happening in a lot of things. And so Cassini started going around speaking at universities and different places saying, I stood up in Paris and told them something that has no scientific basis at all. And so he went around doing it. He went back to the Royal College and said, sorry, guys, I was wrong. Do you know that they wouldn't listen to him? Because, see, something had already been established that as truth, but even the facts could not dislodge what they were persuaded of. Even the man who established the thing. Now, Cassini's name disappeared out of history, and Roemer's name is the only one. You have to do some digging to find these things out because the only name connected to light being traveling and being found to travel for the first time in history in 1676 is old Christian Roemer. And from the Netherlands, I think he was. And but Cassini, his boss, disappeared from history because he was the one who declared it. Roemer did not have the position to stand before the Royal Society in Paris. He wasn't even Parisian. So he had no right to stand there whatsoever. But the man who did, who hired the man, stood up and said it and then said, years later, I was wrong. We must retract this. It wasn't retracted in 1676, and it still has not been retracted in 2025. So, Mike, they've discovered, they know that light travels at a speed now. How do you know that? Because they measured the oscillation of the EMF, and that's how you determine what a meter is. And this has all just been within the last 20, 30 years. So they measured the speed of one oscillation of the EMF, and they had a multiple that they put to that. And they said this is the speed of light, approximately 300,000 meters per second. The problem is, one of the many problems, is that Roemer's declaration of the speed of light is 62 point something % different than the established speed of light that took place just 2 or 3 decades ago. Yet there's no examination of Roemer's work. It's just accepted as the first declaration of the speed of light. You might say, well, Mike, they couldn't be accurate because of then what they knew and they didn't know. Yes, thank you. That's my point. And what if they misinterpreted the whole thing? I know they did misinterpret the whole thing, just like Christianity misinterpreted the fullness of day, just like Christianity misinterpreted the culmination of prophecy, the culmination of the 70 weeks of Daniel, the culmination of the 1,000-year reign. You say, well, we would know, well, surely somebody else would have come up with that light does not travel at a speed. Somebody else would know about it. And you would think that now we're only talking about from 1676 to 2025. What about from the year 30 to 2025.
Mm.
And nobody ever taught on the 1,000-year reign of Christ. Nobody has ever taught that full righteousness came at the cross. The closest that we got to it, Daniel, was several hundreds of years ago. That was ultimate reconciliation. That we know that not all prophecy is fulfilled yet, but ultimately, after you spend a little time in hell or purgatory or Hades or wherever, ultimately God's going to bring everybody back, including Lucifer. So you see, people see, but they don't understand. Sometimes what you see is not what you think you see. Do you know they've established that an eyewitness is the worst form of evidence in a courtroom?
Oh, wow.
The worst form. Yet they still use it. And it shows you how we get stuck with determining truth or reality even. And we're stuck, folks. We are stuck. We have 46,000 denominations that come nowhere near the gospel. Can I say that again? We have 46,000 denominations that come nowhere near the gospel.
Mm.
Nowhere. If they preach sin still exists, they are nowhere near the gospel. If they preach that righteousness has to be believed or attained or maintained, they are nowhere near the gospel. We won't go through all the other things because from there down, it's a cataclysm of catastrophic proportions of misalignment to truth. And what we're doing here at the Gospel Revolution is it's the gospel. So, Mike, why are you talking about the speed of light? Because all of this is what has caused us, even the speed of light has caused us to be trapped in a mind frame. Because do you know what the speed of light does? If light travels at a speed, the conclusion is we are in a entropic universe. It's dying. That's what the speed of light means. That's how they come up with a Big Bang, is based fully based on the speed of light. That creation couldn't have taken place. Why? Because light travels at a speed. Now, you disconnect the horse from the wagon or the wagon from the horse. You can do whatever you want. We're not going to be teaching everything. We are going to be bringing it up when it is necessary. Just like today, how in the world could we not bring up this incredible understanding about shadows being one of the most major misunderstandings of the last 500 years? And then Newton, goodness gracious, he worked hard, but he didn't get to come to conclusions. And his noble statement was hypothesis non fingo. So everything he said about light, everything he said about motion, everything he said about gravity, he said, I don't offer any conclusions. Others offered conclusions. They took the speed of light and put it over all of Newton's work. And now we're where we are. Can you untangle it? I don't know. Can you untangle 2,000 years of Christian doctrine? We're foolish enough to try it. So if we're foolish enough to try untangling 2,000 years of Christian doctrine, why not take on 450 years of physics?
Bring it on, baby.
I don't know. Seems to me we've taken on the big one. I don't know why people get upset about us taking on the little one. Because we know this. We know this. The epitaph of truth. Everybody, this is the epitaph of truth. Everybody knows, quote unquote, that is the epitaph of truth.
Well,
we're either crazy or we are just hungry for truth.
Mhm.
And Michael, I think this is another great example of seeing a belief system that was established. And when that belief system was established, even the person who established the belief system himself
Yeah.
declaring that he was wrong and that there is a truth that is provable, he's silenced. And
Totally silenced. Yeah.
and we've seen that. Michael, you've seen that in your own personal life
Yeah.
as you stood up on the platform and declared all of these wonderful, quote, truths about faith,
Yeah.
and then standing up a few years later declaring it don't work.
Yeah.
And instead of them following the truth, Michael, you were shunned. You were
Yeah.
excommunicated. You were cut off.
Yeah. We'll keep your faith story, but we'll throw you completely under the bus because you told us that what you said was not true.
Mm.
There's something wrong with that, folks. I know how wrong I was to do what I did, but you guys all lied too. All of you did. All of you lied about your experiences. All of you lied about them. You exaggerated them because it's the only thing we knew. This was the path to righteousness. And if it's the path, then you have to lie just a little bit about being on that path. It's really, really crazy. I'm sitting here. I've got a painting in front of me. You've seen it, Daniel, of one of my ancestors. And she only lived to be 21 years old and died in 16. So I just realized that it was during that century that the distortion of all future physics, the distortion, I want you to think about it a minute, folks. If the speed of light, and you say, well, they've measured it. No, they have not. You've got to stop and go back and look. The speed of light has never been measured. Not the one way or the two way. Because even when they claim that they measured the two-way speed of light, they fired what they called billions of photons. And then when they measured something coming back 2.5 seconds later, it is just a part of the EMF. There was no light there. But by then they had declared the electromagnetic field as light itself. Jesus is not the electromagnetic field. He is the light of the world. And he is not delayed by 8.5 minutes. I'm sorry. We were told Jesus is the light of the world for a reason. And that reason translates to the cross as instantaneous righteousness. On the physics side of it, the geometry, you have the instantaneousness of light, and at the cross, you have the instantaneousness of righteousness.
Preach it, brother.
Yeah. And if that doesn't interest you, that's fine. Because this is the longest we've talked about it on here, I think, Daniel, in several months. I know the conference came and went. I don't know that we brought it up. We might have mentioned it. We certainly encourage people to go to the Lilburn Equation. We actually are getting way more visits at the LilburnEquation.com than we are on any platform that we have. And that was part of the goal, was that if we could get people's attention about this, the term Lilburn, when they type it in, is going to lead them straight to the gospel revolution. I am a devious. Yeah. And I'll let you fill in the blanks. But God was devious. And I hear some of you just like, oh my God, now I'm just never going to listen again. He just said God was devious. Well, God tricked a lot of people, folks. But deviousness and tricking people are either good or bad based on the intent. God tricked us into righteousness. He deceived us into righteousness. He made belief the big target. Oh, you got to believe, got to believe, got to believe. Christ come, got to believe, got to believe, got to believe, got to believe. But when he declared all in unbelief, so that he might have mercy upon all. That's what I call devious.
Well, as we close out here, again, a big thank you to Robert May. And as always, we want to tell you, Gospel Revolutionaries, this is why we love when you write us and ask us questions or share your thoughts, is because look at, we produced an 1.5-hour show just simply based on one little text from Robert May.
Yeah.
And it got our wheels turning and produced I have to say myself, some very wonderful content.
I would have to say so myself too.
So thank you, Robert May. And don't forget to write us. You can always write us, freedom@gospelrevolution.com. You can leave a comment on Facebook. You can leave a comment on YouTube, whatever platform you might be listening. We'll get notified of that. And we sure love hearing from everybody.
Thank you guys for dropping in. Set a spell. Y'all come back now. Yeah.
And so it is, we must leave you, family and friends. If you'd like to know anything about the Gospel Revolution, then call our office on
832-318-9339.
and speak to us about how you want to participate, or go to www.gospelrevolution.com and hit the connect link. Again, don't forget to check out lilbornequation.com and get the latest on the immediacy of light. You can find us on your favorite social media network, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Please be sure to hit that subscribe, share, and like button on whatever platform you are listening. Now it's good night from Daniel Rouse in the frozen tundra.
And it's good night from Michael Williams right here in Clarksville, Tennessee. Thank you guys. We really do love you. And, I honestly do. I mean, Daniel can tell you when he's here, we're all the time talking about you guys. I mean, we're not going to let you know what we said, but I mean, just the names of different gospel revolutionaries, GRs from around the globe, current, past, and we talk about those that may be here in the future. So when your brain lines up with, number one, the truth of the gospel, but what if your brain could line up with the truth about the way the universe functions? What if your brain functions like the universe? And then you find out how the universe functions. You might just find out how your brain is supposed to function.
We sure hope you enjoyed today's Powercast. And remember, we'll be here to do the same thing all over again next week, only better.
Since you're knocking on the door, you're begging to come in, yeah. Unaware that all the while love's been knocking from within. You are the love you see, a perfect yet unique, righteous, holy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you feel all sad alone, you gotta be nothing to complete. It's not a thing that you need, you're the love. Just remember to breathe and take a second off. Look, I'm just trying to remind you that you're perfectly divine, flawlessly designed. When you feel all sad and alone, staring at the unknown, let these words be the compass that guides you back home. We
deconstructing religion and barbecuing the sacred cows of Christianity before your very eyes. You are listening to
The Gospel Revolution.